Hello there everyone, this is Miriam, holistic life coach and mind-body practitioner at Pain Outside the Box. And today I'm going to be sharing some ideas on the best ways to meditate as part of your chronic pain recovery journey. So first of all, the intention behind meditation is, scientifically speaking, to calm down the nervous system. Spiritually speaking, it's to increase your vibration or to increase feel-good emotions. But most of all, to cultivate this sense of calm, the sense of acceptance, and the sense of peace and presence with the world around you. And I'm saying this because if you go into meditation with the wrong intention, if you see meditation as a means to an end rather than as a process in itself, your meditation practice may actually be counterproductive, especially when it comes to chronic pain recovery. Since the aim behind meditation is to be present with yourself, with the world around you, with your symptoms, in the case of chronic symptoms, it kind of defeats the purpose to see meditation as a tool to directly get rid of the pain. Because when you do this, your intention is somewhere in the future. You are not present, but you are thinking to the future. So just watch the intention, watch the way you approach meditation. Ideally, the best way to approach meditation is as a sort of maintenance practice, as a practice that will help you feel calmer, yes, possibly. Sometimes you will have to be present with unpleasant emotions and unpleasant sensations, so it's okay not to feel that sense of calm immediately. So think about meditation as cultivating this sense of presence. All right, so having said that, and warned you not to approach meditation with a sense of desperation or urgency, I'd just like to share some ideas of the things that have worked for me and for plenty of others when it comes to meditating for chronic pain. So number one is the walking meditation. And this is the ideal kind of meditation if you're a beginner, if you really don't like to sit still or lie still. And the walking meditation simply involves going out of your house, ideally, and walking outside, ideally in a peaceful place, maybe out in nature, but it's okay if your town or city isn't that peaceful as well. The idea behind it is that during this walk, you're going to be really curious about your surroundings, and you're going to notice things as if you were walking along this road or place for the very first time. So you're going to be present with your surroundings, you're going to notice the sounds around you. If there's anything you can appreciate about your environment, even better, because that brings in a sense of acceptance of where you are. So think about it as just deciding to be curious about this place that you're in. Maybe you can also bring your attention to the contact between your feet and the ground. Think about being fully present with the present moment. And it's going to be difficult in the beginning to do this for the entire duration of the walk because we tend to ruminate, of course. But even if you can do this for less than a minute, or a minute, it will start the process of getting you to be more present with your environment and with yourself, and then you can build on this sense of presence. Because when we don't constantly think about the past or the future, that's when we can calm our brain, okay? That's when we can stop a little bit that flow of negative thoughts that we usually have, and that we especially have if we suffer from TMS, chronic pain. So let's say that's the easiest and simplest way to meditate. Number two, an effective meditation that I also found helpful was the body scan meditation. And the body scan involves simply going either from your toes up to your head or from your head down to your toes, and just pretending that you're carefully scanning the areas and noticing each area. And the idea is to bring in this sense of objectivity, to let go of judgment of how the area feels or what the sensation means for your future, but simply observe instead, just observing how it feels. And the body scan meditation is very similar to somatic tracking, which is the standard meditation that's being recommended for neuroplastic pain as well. With somatic tracking, we usually focus on the uncomfortable area of the body, so we just focus on the unpleasant sensations, and we try to bring in more curiosity and objectivity as we observe these sensations. Whereas with the body scan, you just go through your entire body and get this feeling of being present in your body. You can blend the two together by starting with the body scan meditation, let's say starting from your toes and your legs, and then stopping to give a little bit of extra attention to the area in question where you have chronic pain. So you will then stop on this area and really observe it and fully get curious about it. It's not about wanting to get rid of the sensation, but more about wanting to observe it and get curious about it. And the idea behind this is that when we are simply observant and non-judgmental and maybe even curious, that sense of curiosity or lack of judgment is replacing the previous reactiveness or fear or frustration that we've had towards our symptoms. So that's basically the idea. The idea is to observe our symptoms in a less reactive and negative manner. And that is the aim behind somatic tracking and body scan meditations. It's not to directly get rid of the symptoms. So that's another idea. The other idea, if you tend to be in a hurry or you don't like to sit for so long, is to incorporate a little bit of somatic tracking or body scan meditation into your daily life when the pain interrupts your thoughts or your life. So let's say you're working at your PC and you feel this twinge of pain, and usually you start thinking how awful this is and how long this is going to last and all of those negative thoughts. So instead, you decide to just observe that area and say hello to it and acknowledge it for a while. And observe it in the same way you would during somatic tracking, but perhaps during a shorter time. So you would just feel the twinge. Let's say I feel it here and I'm like, okay, what is this? And, I just let it in fully. I don't attempt to wish it to go away. I try to release that sense of resistance, of wishing it to go away. So by acknowledging it, I'm just kind of releasing a little bit of that frustration and resistance. And when I feel that I've observed it enough or acknowledged it enough, I would continue to work again. I would continue and get on with my daily life. So this can take even less than a minute. Okay. Number 3, which is number 4, if you were to count the last as another form of meditation. And one of my favorites, but which takes a little bit longer, is to incorporate some healing visualization into the process. So this involves, first of all, calming down your nervous system, taking some time to take a few deep breaths, taking time to find a quiet and peaceful place, okay, where you can sit really quietly and uninterrupted. So usually I would do it before I go to sleep or in the afternoon if I have time. And you could start this healing meditation with a body scan exercise, maybe a prolonged body scan exercise. And besides observing your sensations, you can try and visualize your body working in the optimal way. So in my case, I would visualize everything going well, the blood flowing as it should be flowing, my body or my muscles repairing themselves. I would imagine that if there's something a little bit wrong, in a part of the body, that something over there is working towards correcting it. Let's say there's muscle tightness in the body, or my muscles feel sore. I would imagine that everything is working out over there so that all of this will heal quickly. And this can also work for if you have a real injury, not just chronic pain or conditions. So I would just take my time to cultivate the sense of acceptance first by observing the body and how it feels without too much judgment. And then cultivating the sense of trust that my body knows what to do. Because after all, although the body makes mistakes, on the whole, things are functioning well, right? So if we have one minor issue in the lower back, all of the other things are practically fine, you know, and I would just convince myself not to narrow down onto my body's imperfections, onto what's wrong with the body, but rather to think of the body as a whole, as an organism that's working well for me. And anything that's not working well is because things have been a little bit tougher than usual. It's because the body was under significant distress. So I take the time to imagine that now that I'm relaxing, everything will start working well again. So visualization can do wonders, and there isn't any rule of thumb on how we should be doing it. Some people do it with colors. For example, they would imagine their painful muscles being a red color, and as they're breathing into the area, as they're observing the area, they can start to imagine that this red color is fading into a more positive color that they associate with healing, like blue or white. Okay, some people like to visualize their muscles as really tight knots, and they then visualize them getting a little bit looser and a little bit undone. Okay, if I have any other kind of illness, let's say a virus or an infection, I tend to visualize little soldiers making everything right over there in the affected areas. So there's really no limits, because your brain will believe, you know, anything that you imagine, for as long as you do it with this sense of trust, okay? And without this sense of wanting a specific result, okay? Because as I always say, being free of chronic pain is always a side effect to cultivating a calmer state. So as I said towards the beginning of this video, scientifically speaking, it's a side effect of calming down your nervous system. Maybe spiritually speaking, it's a side effect to cultivating this better feeling vibration like joy or calm or peace. So whichever way you lean towards, I mean, it's all a side effect to you, to something inside changing, to your emotions changing from negative ones to more positive ones. And that's the purpose behind meditation, to first of all get rid of those constant thoughts that are generating negative emotions and replace them with a better feeling. And the better feeling can be acceptance of the current situation. In fact, it does start with acceptance of the current situation, which is why we observe our body. And then it can evolve into more trust, more confidence, okay? But without that sense of desperation and urgency. So this is why I always caution people not to approach any kind of meditation with a sense of desperation as a tool that will get them exactly the results that they want, when they want. Okay, so that's all from me for today, really. I hope I've given you a few ideas of how you can integrate meditation into your practice. If you need more help and inspiration, please visit my website, www.painoutsidethebox.com. Okay, have a lovely week, everyone. Bye-bye.